Hi, just wanted to do a short video. Obviously this last month has been a crazy period, and like most founders, we've sort of had to either be incredibly agile with our business models, or we've had to make sort of changes internally. And look, the reality is most of the founders that we're dealing with are either one, potentially letting go of some team members, two, changing their business models, or three, accelerating their timeline for raising capital. So basically want to cover off with the key questions I get asked is around the capital raising area. Now, I'm sure like you've been on different podcasts and different webinars where people have been talking about this, and I think some of the main lessons that I've been taking away from it is, number one, for founders that think they've got a sort of nice 12 to 18 month runway, they think, okay, that's enough. What I'll do is I'll look to raise capital sort of in 12 to 18 months from now. What they're actually forgetting is that normally, I said, people have this myth that it only takes 3 months to raise capital. And when I've done workshops sort of in Australia, Singapore and the UK, that myth just gets blown out the window. Very few companies are able to achieve from start to finish a capital raising within 3 months. So for most of you, some of the advice I have is that if you've got a 12-month runway, you actually need to start raising now, or start at least having conversations with investors and putting that process into motion. And you know, for me, one of the things that got highlighted on one of these webinars was that during the GFC, the actual funding was still good for a good 6 to 12 months after. Where it actually hit its lows was actually 12 months post the Lehman Brothers collapse. So what that means is there's still capital in the system, and I'll talk about that in a second, and actually another video where I'll talk about how the type of home that capital is looking to find at the moment, specifically in our area. But I think I just really want to highlight that point that, number one, if you do have a 12 to 18 month runway, you will need to start looking for capital now, because the rules of raising money 3 months ago are gone, right? They are absolutely gone. And for most of us, what we have to recognize is that we have to work 3 times as harder on our capital raise than what we did previously. We'll have to speak to 3 times the amount of people. And also you have to understand that the type of conversation we'll be having is that we will have to negotiate, right? And these sort of things we want to communicate to our ecosystem, because it is exactly what you're about to experience going forward. And also the other thing that we want to highlight to people is that when you do go through your capital raising process, you now need to be as visible as possible. The days of getting introduction, have coffee meeting, they are gone. None of us can do coffee meetings at the moment, right? So what becomes more important is your existing network, right? Your existing network, and then what becomes even more valuable is how you can create more visibility for yourself to attract more attention. That is such a key part for what you want to do in this next 12 to 18 months. Our ability as founders to create visibility for ourselves, more than create visibility. Said this job of raising money is about creating serendipitous opportunities, right? Now we have to all do that online. So as you're thinking about your capital raising strategy, just really think about that. So if you are thinking about raising money in the next 12 months, you need to start the process now, number one. Number two, there is capital in the system, and as I mentioned, I'll talk about in another video as far as what that capital is looking for. Number three, you have to be more visible than ever before, and you have to be more proactive with your existing networks than before, right? You have to expect to have 3 to 5 times the amount of conversations that it would have taken previously to raise money. That is just simply what is required. And said, just as a final reminder, the rules about raising money 3 months ago are very different to what they are now. We are all operating in different environments. And the other final thing that I'd like to leave you with is that the understanding that in the next 12 months, even 6 months, will be the greatest rush to private capital that we have ever seen. The reason is because we've never had this many companies in the ecosystem. It's true that we've never had this much investment in the ecosystem as well, but we have absolutely never had this many companies. There is 5 to 10 times the amount of companies in the ecosystem than what there was 5 to 7 years ago. That is now your competition for capital, right? So if you're thinking about raising. So I hope that's helpful for you, and stay tuned for the next video where I talk about what investors are going to be looking for in this period.